course, our focus conversation this morning is going to be about a very important aspect of the nation's economy, which, of course, has been, named as one of the areas that is capable of transforming the indices when it comes to employment. We're talking about tourism. Now, we know that Nigeria is blessed with a lot of, natural resources and environment, of course, things that can be transformed to better the loss of the country if proper investment and modalities are put in place to man the system. We know that in Akwa Ibom State there are a lot of those. So today we're going to have that conversation, and we're being joined by the CEO, Ibom Tourism NG and Footprint Hospitality NG, Alan Efe, all the way from Lagos. Good morning, Alan. Welcome to Rise and Shine.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course, also joining us, we have Mrs. Ime Udo, the National President, NATAB SSA on Tourism. Of course, the MD of Akwa Ibom Tourism Development is also joining us. Good morning.
Of course, at the moment, we know that Alan is the person we have, so we'll just start the conversation with Alan while we expect that all other, our two other tourism experts will be joining us very soon this morning. But let's talk tourism in Nigeria in the face of current day economic realities. Finances are really tight, to say it the least, the most easiest way, right? Is tourism still a big deal in the face of these economic realities, Alan? So good to have you on the show.
Okay, thank you. So I think this is the best time for tourism in Nigeria. Looking at the economic realities, before now in Nigeria, we had people that travel out a lot. So considering the exchange rate and what is happening in the economy now, we have more people in Nigeria currently traveling within Nigeria. So for now, yes, in as much as the indices looks bad, but it's good for tourism in Nigeria because what it has done is that it has encouraged people to travel within. So now people are spending more money traveling within Nigeria. So this is the very best time for government, for individuals to develop tourism in Nigeria. So yes, the dollar exchange to Naira might look bad, but for tourism in Nigeria, it's actually the best time because people have started spending money, have started traveling within Nigeria, which is actually a boost for the Nigerian tourism sector. And I'll give you guys a practical indices. Now, before now, hotels within Lagos wouldn't have been fully booked for December. But I can tell you as of yesterday that the major hotels in Lagos are fully booked because people are planning not to travel out of Nigeria in December. So that means that aside Lagos, if we have other states that leverage on the opportunities that are available at the moment and cashing on this, it's a big boost for tourism in Nigeria currently. So it's an opportunity for tourism and it's the best time to leverage on it.
Now, in the event that, we have state government or other states, other professionals within the tourism sector capitalize on this, what would this mean for the respective state GDP and, of course, in extension, that of the country?
Okay, so I would say this. Tourism has a very large value chain. And now, by that I mean that, yes, tourism has a whole lot of subsectors under it. So what that means is that, there's a spread. So it means that if the state government decides to invest in tourism or an individual decides to invest in tourism, let's say you invest in a beach, let's say in Ibono. Now, when you invest in a beach in Ibono, what you're doing is you're creating an attraction. So when people flying from different parts of Nigeria, they'll sleep in hotels, they'll use taxis, they'll eat in restaurants. That's a whole lot of value chain. So indirectly, just from doing one or developing one tourism product, you're actually creating a value chain that even you as an investor doesn't know how far it goes. So it's an opportunity for individuals, for government to invest. Now, the thing for tourism is that most times as a tourism investor, not all the monies come to you. You have different people, different value chain that the money goes to. So tourism has a way of affecting every sector positively if it's invested wisely. So it's an opportunity and the value chain is long. So anybody that invests in tourism is actually investing in the economy and the GDP of the state. If the GDP of the state will grow, people's businesses will grow, small businesses, the rural communities would have, an effect. They will have a feel of tourism because they will also benefit from this. So the GDP of the state grows when either the government or individuals invest in tourism.
So let's look at government investment in tourism, because it doesn't look like it's something we have really leveraged on as a country. For instance, the likes of the UAE, Dubai, they're milking tourism. They're not milking oil and gas or all the other natural resources. It's majorly creating a city that all of us want to travel to. But what would you say has been government's investment in tourism so far? And do you think it is going to be better? Because we're talking tourism in the light of the new administration under Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What are the hopes and promises that you have seen so far?
Okay, so I'll start from the presidency. Before now, we didn't have a tourism ministry on its own. We had a tourism ministry that was made with information. Now, whatever strategy that was we don't clearly understand, because tourism alone is very big.
That's it.
It means for any country that wants to leverage or want to harness its potential in tourism, tourism needs to be given priority. Now, tourism is not something that you do unintentionally. Tourism is intentional. Now, for every country that are benefiting from tourism, they were intentional. And when I mean being intentional, it means setting a goal, now having a roadmap for tourism. Now, what Bola Ahmed's government has done, what President Bola Ahmed's government has done, is giving tourism a ministry on its own, and which is a welcome development for the tourism industry in Nigeria, because before now we've never had it. So what we are now looking forward to, is to see the roadmap, to see the master plan they want to, implement, because Nigeria has everything that it needs, to progress or to succeed in the area of tourism. So we need to see the roadmap. We need to see what the president wants to do. Until we see the blueprint, we can only say that yes, they are taking the right step in the right direction by giving tourism a ministry on its own.
All right. Okay. A lot seems to be happening, and there are a lot of possibilities within the tourism sector. But one of the biggest challenges we've often also had in Nigeria is that of unemployment. So let's look at the employment indices that tourism can help us take off the market.
Okay. So now the issue we have in Nigeria is that for now we don't really have where we could go to harness these data to say, okay, this is the indices that tourism has contributed. But we know that tourism is one of the highest employers of labor, because when you talk about tourism, you talk about hotels, you talk about events, you talk about a whole lot of things that are under tourism. Now, currently, if you check, I will use like Lagos for an example, because Lagos, for me, is one state that every other state should model. If you use Lagos for an example, and let's take the beaches, the beachfront that Lagos has. Lagos currently has over 100 beaches, over 100 private beaches that employs at least the minimum of 5 persons. Minimum, that's what that means, is that there are beaches that employs up to 10, up to 20, up to 30. Now, when you look at that indices, when you put that together, you can see how many people they've taken off the street. You can see how many people that they've given jobs to. You now move to the hotels, you now move to the travel agencies, you now move to the airlines that help to bring people in. So when you look at the value chain, now you can see that even when you've not been able to place a number yet, the indices is very high, because the truth is, if you take out these numbers of persons of the job they are doing, you have a whole lot of unemployment. So tourism currently is contributing very high, even when we don't have a statistics yet, but we know that tourism is one of the highest employers of labor. So now what the government can do is to invest more, is to look at better opportunities, create more product, and ensure that we have more people who have interest to go into the tourism sector.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this conversation back home in Akwa Ibom State. I know that you're one of the foremost, tourist experts that we have around here. Let's talk about developing tourism in Akwa Ibom, because I know that for sure we have sights and scenes. For instance, where our station is located, we call it the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. We are on a hill. From where we stand, we overlook some really beautiful scenery, and we keep asking, where are the investors? Now, let's also go beyond government as investors. Let's look at private organizations and or individuals who have the money to spend. How can we grow tourism in Akwa Ibom State? One thing we remember is when Pastor Moino was coming in, he made tourism part of the catchment, campaign statements that he came around with. So let's talk harnessing tourism in Akwa Ibom.
Okay, so first, I would say the governor really made a strong statement and he followed it up. And when I say followed it up, when the dialogue was done, we could see in the quality of persons that he brought. That's to show that he's intentional about developing tourism in Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom in Nigeria is one of the most blessed states, even when we've not harnessed most of these things. Now, for us to be able to develop tourism in Akwa Ibom, now the policies has to be put right, and that's one of the things the dialogue committee did. You have to put the policies, you have to make sure that the policies look good, they look inviting. You have to also look at all the opportunities that are available and also showcase it to potential investors. Now, you are not going to wait for investors to just come and know what you have. You have to showcase what you have. You have to put it out there for investors to see. You have to show investors that when they virtually come into the state to invest, that their investment are safe. Now, you have to also make sure that the investors understand that they can recoup their money, meaning that you have to show the investors that there's a buying power, that's willing to come into Akwa Ibom and buy into whatever product they create. So first, the governor have taken a massive step in also bringing people. Before now, I would say I would give kudos to the governor. Before now, we've had SSAs, we have SAs that never understood anything about tourism. Now, having two SSAs in tourism and people that are professional shows that the governor doesn't want to make a mistake. Because the truth is that when you bring a lawyer into the tourism industry, I don't know what they are going to do. Tourism is not one sector that you can just bring someone from nowhere. Tourism is an intentional sector. So for you to be able to make any positive progress in tourism, you have to use people that have understanding of what to do, when to do, and how to do it well. So the governor has taken a good step in ensuring that we have professionals in those positions so they can guide him and guide investors into knowing what to do in the area, in the tourism subsector in Akwa Ibom State. So the governor is moving in a very positive trajectory, and all we can do is to give the necessary support, give the necessary guide, and trust me, before we know it, investors are already lining up to come into the state because they've seen that the governor is intentional about developing and harnessing tourism in Akwa Ibom.
That that's like great conversation around the governor and his policies. Like he said, policy statements are very important before we can even go on to actualizing this dream. I remember that there was a conversation you were having with Francis, and you talked about the development of Ibona Beach. Ibona Beach has been there for the longest time, and all we had was people just go play with the water and then leave. In the last 1 year, we have seen some development that are really beautiful to the eyes with regards to Ibona Beach. But let's talk about infrastructural development around tourism. It shouldn't have, taken even the likes of the oil company that we have in Ibana, let me not name drop now, to have developed like hotel facilities around that beach and other things. So, but why has it taken this long for us to be able to tap? And again, Ibana Beach is just one of the beaches that we have in Akwa Ibom. Why do everybody have to run all the way to Lagos? Like you rightly said, look at how the bar beaches in Lagos have been tapped. There is another bar beach along Esreket's, local government that runs all the way back to Ibana. What happens, why didn't Akwa Ibomites, indigenous businessmen in the state, tap, the tourism power of our, different local governments before now?
Okay, there are some things I'll try to look for the right words to use, so that people won't pick on me. First, I would say most times our people are not ready to take risks. That's number one. Because I remember 4 years ago talking to an Akwa Ibomite that has, in fact, I've spoken to a whole lot of them that had money before the development you're seeing in Ibon Beach actually came up. I actually have spoken to persons who've done a visibility study. Even when the new chairman of Ibon came on board, I actually took people there and I showed them the potentials. I told them the next 3-4 years, if we delay, we are going to have people from outside coming, which is not bad. But the truth is that when you have something at your backyard and you cannot harness it, and somebody else comes, to take hold of it, before you know, you start having an entitlement mentality. But all these things have been at your back all this while. So our people were not ready to take risks. Now you had people talk pirates, you heard people talk about a whole lot of things. But I would shock you, most of the people that have come in to start doing the things you're seeing at Ibon Beach are not Akwa Ibomites. Now these are guys that have seen it happen, they've done it elsewhere. And Ibon Beach was just a virgin that was waiting to be harnessed. Now, what that shows is that our people were not ready to take the risks. Even when they were ready to take the risks, what they did was makeshift product that you could not sell. So you go to Ibon Beach, then they will touch dilapidated, looking hot, that were not something you could promote to the international community. So our people were not ready to take risks. They were not ready to invest in that risk. So what you're seeing now are people from outside the state harnessing what we have, which is not bad because we are looking for investors. Now, why? When you ask why has the oil company not been able to do something, the truth is that if if a company comes into your space, they have funds for this thing. That's part of their corporate social responsibility. But you as a community, do you know what you want? Do you demand for this thing? So that's where we are. If Ibona as a community had demanded that they need a master plan, they need part of it developed by the oil company, I trust they would have done it. Because now Ibona Beach is the only beach that has a Gulf by the side, which was developed by ExxonMobil. So what that means is that if the community had asked as part of the agreement that the beach should be developed to a certain level, I am very certain that the oil company would have done it, because that wouldn't cost them a lot, because this is something that has been budgeted as part of their corporate social responsibility. But yes, few persons that head that community might have asked for something else, which will not favor the entirety of the community. So it's
Okay.
about what they wanted. I'm sure they never asked for that beachfront to be developed by
To
the
the
oil company.
developer.
So what you're seeing now is a function of coming from outside and taking advantage of our resources, which is fine. We need investors to come in and invest in the state.
Okay. It has a very sad twist to it at this time, but development must come in whether the people that own those things, want to take advantage or not. But of course, we're being joined by the senior special advisor to the Akwa Ibom State Government on Tourism, Mrs. Imeldo. Thank you so much for joining us in spite of your very tight schedule this morning, ma'am. We appreciate your time with us. So we'll just quickly talk to
Yeah.
you if it has done justice to a lot of the conversation this morning. But let's look at tourism, within the Arise Gender bid. We know that in the very last days of the governor's campaign, he, made a statement that became a mantra, somehow laughable nationwide. But we saw a quick move by the minders of his system, tweak that and make it a beautiful thing. Happy Hour was an initiative moved by the state governor to boost tourism as a conversation in Akwa Ibom State. As a senior special advisor, in that sector in the States, what are the plans to leverage on that big dream of the governor?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, and forgive me for coming a little bit late. Like I explained, I had a very busy morning today. Thank you. I've been listening to Alan, and I think he said so much. Uh, Looking at Akwa Ibom State, let me start from here. We can't overemphasize the fact that Akwa Ibom State is more than right to be a destination. It has everything it takes, to drive in the necessary traffic into the state. And having said that, one thing I'm happy about is that we have a governor who is pro-tourism. Yeah, we have a governor who understands the value of tourism and what tourism brings to the table, what tourism brings to any economy. We were watching the news yesterday, and we found out how much Spain had developed its economy through tourism alone.
Yeah.
The impact of the growth impact in Spain's economy is as a result of tourism. It's as a result of the focus of tourism. Alan said something, being intentional, and that's the watchword. You must be. Tourism is not just like any sector you just bust into. You must be intentional about everything you're doing in tourism. And that's because the first beneficiaries of tourism are the grassroots. Now, His Excellency, during his campaign, came up with a mantra, RPR. That goes to show you that this is a governor who has tourism in the front burner. He sees the value of tourism and knows the impact tourism will make in every sector. Like we always say, tourism is multi-sectoral. You find tourism in every sector of the economy. So within the state, it is time for every sector to embrace tourism as part of its initiative of what we'll be doing to grow the economy of the state. And that's because now for RPR, for instance, it is one, I don't want to go far, but so let me just be within the ambit of what you've asked. Now, RPR is it's a mantra that His Excellency has brought out, and I can say it was very timely. RPR embraces so much. through RPR, we can achieve so much in the state. As you know, the SSCO to the governor on tourism, we currently are doing a lot. We have a lot in the pipeline to bring about a lot of programs within the RPR brand. And I can tell you, it is time for every Akwa might wake up and embrace this vision. We look the amount of traffic, the amount of foot traffic we can drive into the state, repeated foot traffic we can drive into the state. If this particular mantra is properly announced, I can tell you it's something that will change the entire face of Akwa Ibom. So with RPR, we're doing a lot. We're already in talks with a lot of partners, development partners. It will mean so much from our sites, from the activities to the people. The people, I'm particular about the people, because once the people understand RPR, they understand it's not just about any one particular kind of business or any particular kind of merchant. It's about them. It's about the Akwa Ibomites. Who are you? You are one who is hospitable. What does RPR signify? It talks about a period of time where people come and have some kind of excitement, relax, kind of enjoy the nature they have around them. Live, your very busy schedule, your hard work, and then look at how you can use, leisure. You can use anything that can create any kind of, economy, to just, without any much stress. So it's not just about the merchant. It's not just about the business. It's also about the people. The people themselves. It starts with RPR, starts with us as an Akwa Ibomite. RPR, everyone who meets me as an Bible must see the fact that I am a very hospitable person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one who is pleasant. I'm one who is happy to receive tourists. I'm one who is ready to assist. So RPR, so it's not just RPR as, but we're creating an activity and everybody come. No, it goes beyond that. And very soon we are going to roll out that. You're going to see it in every sector. From the flights to the hotels, to the merchants, the people selling, or everyone who has different businesses. You're going to see RPR reflect everywhere within the state. And more importantly for us, we're going to use RPR as a brand to ensure we're driving the necessary traffic. And that's what we need within Akwa Ibom City. We need to drive in traffic. When you drive in a lot of traffic, what happens is that you stimulate the economy because you allow money flow, circulate around. People then begin to have purchasing power to be able to buy things, purchase things, and thereby you're able to lift people out of poverty. So we're going to use RPR to do so much. We're going to use it as a brand, first of all, to reach the grassroots, so that those people within the communities are able to get themselves engaged in very meaningful businesses. It's not about you sitting down and waiting for crumbs to fall on you and waiting for someone to hand something out to you. It's time for you to look inward and see, what do I have I can give? There are people coming to buy, because RPR will drive in the traffic. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, you're going to say something?
Two things that I'm going to point out, because when we go beyond the promises of governors and state governments, we also need to x-ray the willingness of these state governments or governors to invest in that area. Like you rightly said, we talked investment with Alan. Infrastructural development is a very serious thing when we are talking about tourism. For instance, we usually have this conversation in Akwa Ibom. If any professional body were to move their international conference to Akwa Ibom, we will not have enough hotels to host all of the participants for some of those conferences. It's been a conversation, but we've gradually been making progress out of that place. Now, will the governor be willing to put money where his mouth has gone with regards to tourism? We have a lot of locations in Akwa Ibom lying fallow and untapped. We need to evaluate these sceneries and put in the necessary money there to make sure that we can attract the kind of traffic that we want.
Yeah, I can't say more than that. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes. Now, it's very obvious. His Excellency has made it clear that tourism is going to be one of his main, it's going to be on the front burner in his government. And I think he's been very proactive with it. One of his first official assignments, I would remember, was on tourism, when he went about, to visit the sites to evaluate the sites and see how we can catalog the sites. What do we have? How can we upgrade, develop what we have, or how can we build new ones? I think that's enough show of commitment. It's putting your money where your mouth is. So I think that's enough show. So it's very obvious. I don't want to emphasize. He's already made it clear. Tourism is in the front runner. He's very expectant of a lot of developments within a time frame, and that is really what we're working with. And so far, I can tell you there's been a lot going on the ground. Um, Definitely, we're going to work with a lot of development partners. It's not something the state can carry on its own. We know that long tourism definitely it involves huge capital, and it's not something you do just by yourself as government. It's a public-private partnership. So definitely, government is already seeking out for partners to support it. To partner with government in developing these sites. You just said, I was listening to Anna and I listened to you earlier on. I don't want to repeat that. We have a lot of sites, historical sites, that can drive in the necessary traffic. We have a lot of stories, and we talk about, it cuts across every part of tourism, whether it's historical, whether it's religious, whether it's eco, whether it's leisure, whether it's culinary. We have all of that. So the government definitely is doing that, and I'm sure that Akwa Ibom State is going to become the #1 destination in Nigeria in the next few years.
You just raised a really big question, and I remember someone writing to us this morning and asking, what is eco-tourism? What is eco-tourism about? We can know, like religious tourism is what we have in December when we have our Christian music festival. But what is eco-tourism about? And then again, I would like to ask you, as this Senior Special Advisor to the Governor and the government on tourism, what is the employment factor that we should, look into with regards to all of this? When we develop tourism in Akwa Ibom, how will it affect the youth and the women of Akwa Ibom State?
Yeah, first thing, let me start from the last question. Well, how will this affect the youth and the women? I think they are the first beneficiaries. You would agree with me that the most gender within the tourism space are the women. They are the ones, for instance, in culinary tourism, for instance, which Akwa Ibom has a very major advantage in. Who are those who, who are those who own the space? It's the women. So they have a lot to benefit. What about the youths? The youths have a lot to benefit. They are the ones with the skills. They are the ones who have the talents. When we're talking about creative, being very creative, they are the ones who have the skills and the talents. We are looking at sports tourism. We are looking at the creative arts, culture. They are the ones who have all of that. So they have so much to gain and to benefit if tourism thrives in Akwa Ibom State. And that's why I'm saying it first of all starts with us, the Akwa Ibomites. We need to embrace this vision. We need to understand that tourism has come to stay. This is who we are, and this is what we're offering to the world. Tourism. Come and enjoy, come and experience Akwa Ibom State. Come and see a land of promise. Come and see, so we have all of that. So talking about the youth, talking about women, they are the first beneficiaries. We're talking about tech tourism. Who are those in that space? It's the youths. And you can't do tourism without technology. We are in a technological age. So who are those? They are the youth. They have a lot to benefit. Once all of this is properly structured, properly organized, you will find out that this will trickle down to everybody, every sector, whether it be youth, the women, the old, it will trickle down to everyone, the young child. Everyone will benefit from this once we finish all the structuring and organization. Yes. And then going on to the next question, you're talking about what is ecotourism. Yes, Akwa Ibom State is blessed. We look at our forest. I don't know if you've been to the Lekki Conservation Center here in Lagos. You see what they've done with the space that they have. And if you can think of the amount of traffic that drives into that site on a daily basis, we have much more than that. Look at Itu, for instance. What are we doing with our green vegetation, our forests? What are we doing with that? What are we doing with our biodiversity? Akwa Ibom has one of the largest settlements of monkeys around Itu. Akwa Ibom, within Itu, we have a period in time where we have a particular species of birds that migrate into Itu within a time frame. And by the time they are going back after 1 month, it is a sight to behold, similar to the wilderness migration we have in Kenya. So when we're talking about ecotourism, we are talking about In fact, I'm just trying to look at it in a nutshell. It was about admiring the nature around us, our green vegetation, using that to harness our own green economy. You understand? So we have that definitely in Akwa Ibom State. We can't allow our forests to stay bare like that. We
Okay.
must, we must use that to make money because it is a huge area to develop. Very massive area where we can drive in numbers, where we can make a whole lot of money in Akwa Ibom State.
Tourism is actually very holistic, but we're already running a race against time. But I'd like to ask Alan one very last question before we wrap up the conversation this morning. Alan, what is the future of tourism in Nigeria and for Akwa Ibom State? Let's look at it holistically in the face of current day realities and where we are pushing. What should be the hope? What is the future of tourism as we call this a wrap this morning? You want to check your audio? I think you're muted or something.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I would say the future of tourism in Nigeria is very promising. There can be a better time to develop tourism in Nigeria. You see, with the whole economic issues that we're having back and forth, it now gives government a sense of alternative. So it means the current government of the day, when the president did a broadcast the other day, he said, in his words, he said there's nothing he can do. Now, what that means is that we need to now look inward. And looking inward means that we need to start looking at what Nigeria has. And one of the things Nigeria has in abundance is the tourism potential. So this is the best time for the Nigerian government to harness the different potentials we have in tourism across Nigeria. And I will also say this, one of the things that will help bring peace and unity in Nigeria faster than any other thing is the development of tourism in all facets of the economy. Now, if tourism is developed in Jos, developed in Akwa Ibom, is developed, in every part, and the rural, the people in the communities that those tourism sites are domiciled are carried along, it will help to bolster peace. It will help to boost peace in Nigeria, because when people know that they make money, from the tourism product around them, they want to protect it. They want to do everything to ensure that income keeps coming from those areas. So now I think this is the best time for government to look inward, develop tourism potentials, make the people understand the worth of what they have around them. And trust me, they will protect it with their life. They will make sure that there's peace for those things to thrive. And when we have monies coming in from other economies into Nigeria, that's the best way to even balance this unnecessary inflation rate. Because when we start having more influx of money coming into Nigeria, we would have monies to spend, and trust me, the economy will grow faster than what it is today. So the prospect for tourism in Nigeria and Akwa Ibom look very promising. And let me bring it back to Akwa Ibom before I end. Akwa Ibom can become the Dubai of Nigeria.
Absolutely.
And so what that means is that with everything the governor is putting in place, if we run intentionally, Akwa Ibom can become the next big thing. Yes, it's promising. Now it boils down to the people on ground, it boils down to us, right? Apart from just talking, to hit the ground running, helping the government, bringing in investors. There are people that has investors close to them. Now, the only reason why most times investors don't come into a particular space is because of what they hear. We need to start telling the right stories about reasons why people should come into Akwa Ibom. And trust me, we can become the next Dubai of Nigeria if we're intentional and we pursue these things like the governor has said we pursue. So that's it from me.
Thank you so much. I would have asked you for last words, but you have actually wrapped it up, very perfectly. We need to start telling the right stories about, us as Akwa Ibom and us as Nigerians. Ma Ime Udo, I'd like for you to give us your wrapping words in just a few seconds as I bid to let you both go this morning.
Who might need to arise. For the first time, we have a governor who is putting a very, very critical sector in the front burner, and that is tourism. And anywhere you go to, you find out that where you have tourism thrive, the economy of that state or economy of that region changes. And not only, and that directly affects the people. It affects the entire economy of the people within the region. So it's time for us at Akwa Ibomite to embrace the tourism mantra that is coming forward. Let us protect it with all we have. Let us begin to look inward. What do we have around us? It's time to identify those sites around us, within our localities, within our communities. Bring them to the fore so that we can then, harness that, develop that, and drive in the necessary traffic. More importantly, it's time for us to begin to, partner with government. We don't just want to see people come from outside and say we are development partners with government. Let the communities, let the acquirable might partner with government to ensure that tourism thrives in the state. So I'm going to, because our focus right now is tourism in Akwa State, and I'm passionate about that. And I think every one of us, once we come together, to embrace this, it becomes very easy for everyone to achieve.
It will become very easy for every one of us to achieve. Thank you very much, Imeldo, National President, NATOP, and Senior Special Advisor to the Government of Akwa Ibom State on Tourism. Thank you for making our time in your very busy schedule to be with us on Rise and Shine this morning. Also, a really big thank you to you, Alan Efe, CEO, Ibom Tourism, NG Footprint Hospitality. You've been a great resource, both of you, this morning, and we absolutely appreciate it. But that's where we're going to call it curtains for the interview this morning.